hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Gettr.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec.
And so many more.
And the best part?
You can watch Real America's Voice right there on Gettr.
Live.
So join the conversation.
Hop on the Gettr chat room.
Engage with patriots who are just like you.
Good morning, Gettr friends.
We're breaking news, we're delivering the truth, and we're doing it on Gettr
every single day. So don't wait. Download the Gettr app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
It isn't just an app. It isn't just a social media platform. It's a community.
Happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is now to Texas, where a father says he forgives the teen accused of fatally stabbing his son at a high school track meet.
I want to clarify something right off the start because I've already heard some rumors and some gossip. This was not a race thing. And this is not a political thing.
What has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on two principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
You said previously that the relationship that Canada had with the United States is now over. Is the U.S. still our ally?
The U.S. Absolutely. Look, the U.S. is absolutely our ally. It's our ally in security and defense partnership.
America is rich. We buy a lot of stuff. President Trump is saying that if you American business or you foreign businesses want to sell in America, then move your business here and hire American workers. That's a laudable goal, and I support it. It'll work long term.
We can't allow the United States of America not to produce pharmaceuticals. We can't have a war where we can't get antibiotics, and we have to call another country to make a missile or to make a plane. I mean, these are obvious things. We need to have domestic production. We need to employ Americans, and I think that is the model that Donald Trump is seizing on. We need to employ Americans for the good of the United States of America.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We're here live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, this April 4th, 2025, Anno Domini. We're at the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. This is a gathering of patriots. We're here to celebrate the incredible victory of President Trump in 2024, turning Pennsylvania red, ruby red, baby. We loved it. But we are here also because we're Soros maxing. We're building out the networks for the 2026 race, for the local races here in 2025, and then 2028 and beyond. And of course, I wouldn't be Pennsylvania if I wasn't here with my brother, Kev Poso. What's up, Kev?
Keystone Kev checking in.
Keystone Kev checking in, putting the key in Keystone. You know, they said Josh Shapiro issued a mandate, said we're not allowed to be in the state together. Did you realize that?
Oh, is that right? I didn't realize that. Where's Josh? He's not here.
Sorry, where are you, Josh? He's right uptown. We'll go over. Well, maybe he'll come over from the governor's mansion. Maybe he'll come out and take a peek. We're also here with the great Cliff Maloney. Cliff, I want to thank you for having us here, for hosting us from Citizens Alliance and the PHAs.
Got our Commonwealth back, baby. We did it. Happy to be here.
Look, we got it back, but it's not all the way back. We want a big battle. But we haven't quite won the war yet, have we?
No, and I think, this Lancaster race last week really was an eye-opener for us. Yes. The Democrats, we might think they're in turmoil, but think they've got no leader, no message. What are they doing except for going after Trump, going after Elon? But one thing they do, Josh Shapiro takes his election seriously. This is a business for these people. They show up even with no message and no candidate, and that's why we have to continue to compete.
Yeah, we go to church, they go to politics, because it is a religion for these guys. It's their theocracy. It's their worship. When they go and get involved in politics, that for them, that's like reading scripture or something for us. And we think it's ridiculous, but you know what? We got to fight the same way.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about. I mean, we learned, look, we've got to double down. We got to take the lessons we learned in 24 and make those permanent, right? We got to stop listening to the consultant class.
Oh my
They have no idea what they're doing. It's more Karl Rove, money on TV, money on mail. It's like, come on, guys. The rules have changed. We adapt or we die. So I think it's actually a good wake-up call, this Lancaster race, and it's just seeing if the consultants will finally figure it out.
Kev, we got some great Human Events Daily fans. Any fans of Real America's Voice here today?
Oh, yeah.
Any fans Real America's Voice? They're watching us here. They're all here from Pennsylvania. Look, folks, this is what it's all about. Pennsylvania is the play, the Keystone is the key, and we love this great gathering of patriots. We got thousands of people coming in today. We'll be speaking later today. Kev is going to be prowling around outside. He's looking for Antifa. He's like, I wish a Tesla terrorist would. I wish a Tesla terrorist would.
Welcome to the Second American Revolution.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we're back live. Human Events Daily, Real America's Voice here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. And we are also want to bring in now the third hour of the Charlie Kirk program on the Salem Radio Network. In fact, Krista Galdi, morning host on Salem Radio, just spoke a little while ago. Another great son of Pennsylvania, like myself. Look, we're here in Pennsylvania. We're having this gathering of patriots. That's what this is, a patriot gathering, but it's not a celebration. This is a working meeting of patriots, a working meeting of people who want to take action, that are tired of the same old. We're not going to show up every 4 years. We're going to show up every single day, putting our shoulder to the wheel and doing what we want and what we need for our Commonwealth and across all of it. We've got a lot of great fans here. We got a lot of folks coming up. And folks, before we get into that, I got to tell you, look, they say, how do you do all this, Poso? How do you do it all? How do you have the energy? You're going here, you're going there. You're in Ukraine with Secretary Bessent. You're coming back over. You're in all these places. You're up in Pennsylvania. How do you keep going? I say it's very simple. I start my day every single day with a cup, maybe a couple of cups of Blackout coffee. And if you want to have that same level of energy, that same level of drive, day in and day out, you got to go to blackoutcoffee.com, promo code POSO. It's so simple, and that promo code will save you big on your first order. The best way to do it, honestly, just go get the yearly subscription. You get it 12 months. It's delivered straight to you. Blackoutcoffee.com, promo code POSO. If you could tell, I had my Blackout coffee before the program today, and that's how I'm able to go at the level that I'm going right now. The only person that I think has a little bit more is President Trump. I can't get you that stuff, but what I can get you is Blackout Coffee. So go to blackoutcoffee.com, promo code Poso, a little bit of that Poso power. So we're here, we're talking to grassroots, but we've also got local officials here, as well as State Representative Mike Jones from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Welcome to Human Events Daily.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jack. It's great to be here.
So tell me, what's the importance of this conference, and what's the theme today going into 2025?
Well, the theme is we gotta put as much pressure as we possibly can on the Democrats, who unfortunately control the House by one seat, and of course Governor Josh Shapiro.
Oh no, 5'3" Josh Shapiro.
Right.
Oh
and,
no, all my audience knows you can't say that name around me. Oh no.
But I will say this, people, and I know you know this, but people need to take him. He's a very serious threat politically.
Yes.
Yes. Which the only, but you know. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He comes right in front of you, and he lies so with the silky sweet lies, the smooth lies, because he really believes it.
Yep.
He really believes it. He'll say whatever he wants. By the way, wait, my brother Kevin's here. Kevin, you got to get the Josh Shapiro napkins. Can you grab some of the napkins? Folks, don't worry. They got Josh Shapiro napkins here. This is how great.
I haven't seen this.
I know. This is great. I should have grabbed some before the show.
Well, who does he remind you of? Everybody I talk to, he reminds me.
Well, it's very clear to me that he's taken his mannerisms, his articulation, and his vocal timbre from Barack Obama.
Yeah, 100%.
He's got that, and Pete Buttigieg kind of does this too, but Josh Shapiro does it to an even greater extent. In fact, we were toying around last year with when he spoke a couple times after, by the way, Kamala Harris completely humiliated him by passing him over. Remember, he's playing basketball in the front lawn with the kids, with the Inquirer sitting out front. He said, maybe I'll get the call. Maybe he can't shoot. He can't make a single hoop, but he's playing basketball with the kid. Never gets the call. Tim Walz gets the call, and we all know how the rest of the story is. And so he got passed over for that. 5'3". Of course, he can't play basketball. But the thing is, people need to understand that he is a facsimile. He is not telling his true nature.
No, it's very Obama-esque, as you said, his mannerisms, his way of speaking. Almost everybody that observes him says it. But the thing to remember about Obama,
here we go. The Josh Shapiro here. You can have one.
Thank you. Stop
the Shapiro tax. All the napkins here at the conference. Stop Shapiro. Stop Shapiro. We love this. Oh, it's so good.
The thing you got to remember about Shapiro,
and you need napkins when Shapiro's around, because you always got to clean up something.
Well, he wants to be president. That's what his motivation is. So, but much like Obama, I call Obama the great deceiver.
Indeed.
And the masters, you could say, well, and I'm not comparing them literally, to be clear, but if you look at the devil in the Bible,
the style,
a lot of what the devil says in the Bible is technically true, but he quotes scripture.
Yes.
But he's a master deceiver, and they're the masters of the half-truth, the white lie, the exaggeration, and it sounds really good. But as you said, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I'm not, to be clear, I'm not saying he's literally the devil. But there's a parallel there, and that's how Obama was.
I'll tell you. So he was my county commissioner in Montgomery County. I'm born and raised in Norristown, Pennsylvania, and he was our county commissioner. And he would sit there and tell you that he's done a great job. I say, where did he do this great job? Where was it done? Was it done in his district when he was a state rep, which is now falling apart? Was it done in Norristown, where he sat and was serving for all this time? And you look at Norristown, it's completely flooded by illegal aliens. It's flooded by fentanyl and crack and all the other stuff that's going on, murder with the hospitals getting torn down. And you think this is good? This is the street I grew up on, the street I lived with my mom and dad, and I can't even take my kids there. It's so much crime. That was Josh Shapiro's area that he represented, and now he's in the governor's mansion after being AG. And I'm sorry, but the crime in Pennsylvania still hasn't been fixed. All these problems haven't been fixed. Don't even get me started on Philadelphia, Philadelphia. And so this is the guy. What record is he supposed to run on? But he'll walk up there and say everything's great. He'll walk up there and say,
well, I mean, you don't have a media to call him out on it other than guys like yourself. And it's the epitome of a career politician, no private sector experience, which I came out of the business world. That's one of my big pet peeves here. Our state's getting older, smaller, and poorer by the day because of these taxes and regulations on business. It's absolutely killing us. The only demographic in Pennsylvania that's growing is the over 80 demographic, because we're chasing employers and young people with them because they follow the jobs right out of the state, and something that people don't talk about nearly enough, yet they keep beating that same union main drum, regulatory drum. Let's tax the rich, tax the businesses. We're going to run out of rich people and businesses to tax the way we're going.
Yeah, a lot of people left during COVID, and then the kids, we have the brain drain because people will come to Pennsylvania and go to school, and then they immediately leave and get out as soon as they get that degree.
Lost another congressional seat, an electoral vote with it this last census.
Right.
Especially meanwhile North Carolina and Tennessee and others are reaping the benefits.
So that's the state of the Commonwealth. Yep. That's why people said we need change. That's why they voted for President Trump. What are people doing here at the conference today? People who care about our state, who love our state. What are people doing to get things back on the right track?
Well, what I hope we're doing is getting energized because it was a beautiful day, November 5th, I guess it was. I'm still celebrating, but I think people got lax. So we lost this state Senate race in Lancaster that Trump won that seat by 15. Now, part of it is a lot of Republicans haven't figured out that they need to get on the Trump bandwagon. It's mind-boggling to me that they don't get the message. But I think you also have a lot of complacency. It's like Trump won, everything's good. What we need to do here is start the process of really energizing our grassroots and getting out the vote for this. The biggest single thing are these retention votes for the PA State Supreme Court. Because as bad as Wolf and Shapiro were and are, you can make a strong argument the last 6, 7, 8 years the state Supreme Court has done more damage, redistricting being the unconstitutional redistricting being the single biggest example.
They took our district map, they basically shredded it, and then they outsourced the entire thing to some college professor out of California and said, this is the guy who's going to redraw your equitable district. It's a joke. I said, why don't they just ask the donors of the Pennsylvania Democrat Party who they would like to be congressman and representative? Because that's so obvious what they're doing.
Well, and you had judges running on that. We made a big mistake by not impeaching at a bare minimum Justice Weck. Probably should have impeached a couple of them 5, 6 years ago when we were in the majority when I first got up to Harrisburg. Instead, we sit idly by and watch them. They cost us 2 or 3 congressional seats, almost took out Scott Perry back in, I guess that would have been 16 or 18.
No, they were headhunting for him.
And then they cost us the majority in the House. Blatantly unconstitutional.
We're headed off to a break. Where can people go to follow you and get more information?
State Rep Mike Jones on Facebook, and I am Mike Jones for PA is the other one, and I'm down in South Central York County.
Oh, we love York County.
We're the big red wall here in Pennsylvania.
You still got the Round the Clock Diner? Is that
yes,
still going?
Yes, sir. They're good friends of mine, the Sacarellises.
We hot rod on the roof.
I spearheaded Reopen York with Veronica over here and about a dozen others.
I know.
And the Sacarellises were the front and center on that.
We'll be right back.
Patriots. Thank you.
back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. A number of members on President Trump's National Security Council are off the job this morning over concerns about their loyalty. Those concerns were reportedly raised by journalist Laura Loomer during a meeting with President Trump at the White House this week.
She makes recommendations of things and people, and sometimes I listen to those recommendations like I do with everybody. I listen to everybody and then I make a decision. But I saw her yesterday. She was at the ceremony, and she'll always have something to say, usually very constructive.
What did she recommend?
She recommended certain people for jobs.
Adding to the administration, not
adding.
But not firing?
Well, she'll recommend that too. But yesterday she recommended some people for jobs.
Did she have anything to do with the NSC aides who were ousted?
No, doesn't matter.
The Hill reports the Senior Director of Intelligence, the Senior Director of Legislative Affairs, and the Director of Technology and National Security are among the recent NSC firings. Plus, the Washington Post is reporting the Director of the U.S. National Security Agency was fired on Thursday. Tim Haw is his name. He's also the head of U.S. Cyber Command. His deputy at the NSA was reportedly dismissed as well and reassigned to the Pentagon's Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. Former Trump-endorsed Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz is now working for the president after being confirmed as the administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Dr. Oz, as he is known, will manage health insurance programs for about half of the country. The 64-year-old is a trained surgeon and a former TV pitchman. He was confirmed by a 53 to 45 vote margin. Dr. Oz will work under Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Department of Health and Human Services. The two are said to enjoy a very close relationship. That's a quick check of your headlines. As always, we appreciate having you along for the ride. I'm Terrence Bates. Now, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Today, they talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, he's done a great job.
All right, folks, we're back here. What's up, guys? Are we excited for President Trump in Pennsylvania? Are we excited to be here for the Pennsylvania chase? Oh, yeah. Are we excited to be here to take back Pennsylvania from little Josh Shapiro? Do we like Josh Shapiro? Is Josh Shapiro 5'3"? He is. He is.
With the platform.
He is with his platform shoes. I mean, we love this. We're right here. Josh Shapiro is just basically he's right down the street, right down the street from the governor's
mansion. He's not at the leadership conference for Pennsylvania. Let's be clear.
Why didn't he show up?
I
would have loved to come. Kevin wanted to see him so much. I'm hurt. I'm so hurt. Did he hear that we were going to ask some interesting questions about some of these court cases? Some of these skeletons that. Oh gosh, because he looks so nice when you see him. He looks so put together. He's so articulate. He's so smart. He's so well spoken. But then you start digging into his past, and oh my gosh, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. He's got more skeletons in a graveyard. Oh, more skeletons in a graveyard.
We got a couple of Patriots over here.
Well, we do have some Patriots. I like Patriots. Should we read some Patriots?
Joe Diorsi, join us over here.
We got another state rep. We got Joe Diorsi. Stay right here. Let's do this. We'll do a little producing on the fly. I'll give him. Joe, you're right here. Right here. We're doing it live, folks. We're doing it live. It's okay. It's Pennsylvania style. We're Pennsylvanians. We can figure it out. We may not be there the fastest, but we'll get there. State Representative, thank you so much for joining us on Human Events Daily. Tell me, what brings you out today, and what do you think are the biggest issues facing Pennsylvania that you're going to address here at the conference?
Well, I mean, we're all gathered. We're of like mind for liberty, limited government, and free market principles. I think that's pretty rational. I think a lot of the people in this building are for that. I think energy is a big topic for Pennsylvanians. Affordable energy. We have so much natural gas under our feet.
It's right here.
It's right here to power the rest of the United States and our allies abroad. I think education, school choice. I carry a universal school choice bill in the House. I think that's a big topic, and just the economy.
I've seen a ton of tabling here for school choice. By the way.
Yep. Yep, and you're talking about little Josh. I mean, he talks about Pennsylvania being competitive as hell. Fact is, we've lost 300,000 people to states with greener economic pastures over the last 15 years.
Have you noticed that little Josh, he seems to think that if he curses, that makes whatever he says believable or makes him seem tough? Like, no, it doesn't. It actually makes you seem weird and creepy.
It does, and he also likes to talk about sports a lot. He's all about the Phillies. He's all about the Pirates, Penn State. But I'm not sure how much he knows about sports.
Well, and what's funny too is he'll do that. He'll say, "Oh, I'm a lifelong Eagles fan," but then he'll say he's also a Steelers fan. And look, if you know anything about Pennsylvania, you don't mix. You do not mix. No true Eagles fan would ever say that they're a Steelers fan, and vice versa. You would not. You're gonna have a terrible towel one day, and you're hanging out with like the Philly fanatic and the Phillies the next. It just doesn't work. It doesn't track. So just be honest, Josh. Just be honest. But he can't. He just can't because he is not constitutionally capable of being honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Montgomery County guy, so I mean, just you're a Phillies and Eagles fan.
You can't trust those Montgomery County guys.
You're right. Phillies, Eagles, just go with it.
Yeah, just go with it.
Pennsylvanians respect a true fan and not a bandwagon guy.
It's exactly, and that's 100% who he is. I love. Have you seen these? I'll give you one of these. We've got the Josh Shapiro napkins here because whenever that's for you, State Rep. So here's one for you, Cliff, as well. Because whenever Josh Shapiro's around, there's a mess you need to clean up. So we've got Stop Shapiro, and this is for the tax hike. So what are the tax hikes that he's pushing right now?
Well, his energy plan would translate to a tax hike on ratepayers. He changes the acronym like every week. It used to be Reggie, now it's Pacer. I think there's a new one now. They just shift the goalpost. That's the major one. I think also budget-wise, his budget would spend this year $51.47 billion, spends down our surplus, and the projection is that we'll be out of money. And then when we're out of surplus, we're out of the rainy day fund. That's a tax hike. So
that's what comes next. And that's what he's setting it up for a tax hike because he's going to be saying that, we want to continue our services. There's only one way to do it, folks. We've got to raise taxes. Where can people go to follow you to get more information and really find out the truth about Josh Shapiro?
Yeah, so I'm on X, Joe D for PA, also on Instagram and Facebook under the same name, Joe D for PA.
Joe D for PA. Look, that's a real patriot there, a Pennsylvania patriot. Look, we're here today in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. PA is the play. The Keystone is the key. And look, if you thought it was just me who's got a bone to pick with little Josh Shapiro, guess what? I'm surrounded by an entire thousands of patriots who agree with me. We'll be right back here. Human Events Daily continues. That was perfect.
Thank you.
Lawrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. Thanks so much for being along for the ride. U.S. stock markets are hoping to bounce back today after what experts are calling a tariff-induced free fall on Thursday. The losses are among the worst in the last decade, with the Dow losing 1,600 points and continuing its losses today. The S&P 500 dropped nearly 5%, and the Nasdaq hemorrhaged 6%. Everything from crude oil to big stocks to the value of the U.S. dollar against other currencies are feeling the effects of the Trump tariffs. It's an issue that Secretary of State Marco Rubio addressed during a meeting with fellow NATO members who likely gave him an earful about President Trump's tariffs.
Their markets are reacting to a dramatic change in the global order in terms of trade. And so what happens is pretty straightforward. If you're a company and you make a bunch of your products in China, and all of a sudden shareholders or people that play the stock market realize that it's going to cost a lot more to produce in China, your stock is going to go down. But ultimately, the markets, as long as they know what the rules are going to be moving forward, and as long as that's set and you can sustain where you're going to be, the markets will adjust. Businesses around the world, including in trade and global trade, they just need to know what the rules are. Once they know what the rules are, they will adjust to those rules. So I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States. We have to be a country that thinks we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
China is among the first countries to push back against the tariffs with its own reciprocal 34% duty on all U.S. imports starting next week. Other trade partners are weighing a response as well. Happening today, the U.S. Senate is set to start a marathon session aimed at funding President Trump's agenda. The spending plan will include extending tax cuts and finding spending cuts. When it comes to spending cuts, though, Senate Republicans are expected to struggle to approve enough cuts to offset the multi-trillion-dollar price tag on those tax cuts. That's a quick check of your headlines.
And Jack, where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back live, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We're at the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. We're meeting with local leaders, grassroots leaders, patriots, all from the four corners of this vast Commonwealth. And we're also very honored to have on someone who is a statewide elected official in this Commonwealth. It is the Treasurer of Pennsylvania, Stacy Garity. Thank you so much for joining us, Stacy.
Jack, thanks for having me. And first, before we start, yes, so Navy intelligence officer.
That's right.
So I'm retired Army.
There we go.
So, challenge coin.
There you go.
Thank you for your service.
Wow. Who it's you. Thank you so much for this. How long were you in?
30 years.
30 years. Tell us a little bit about what you did in the Army.
Oh my gosh. So military police, but so I had 3 deployments, all detention operations. So my last deployment.
So I was at Guantanamo. So
yeah,
I work with you guys all the time. Yeah.
I know. So of course, military police hate detention operations. That was all 3 deployments that I had. And my last deployment,
you can't be an actual cop.
Exactly. I was acting battalion commander at Camp Bucca in southern Iraq. So we had 7,000 detainees, 225 on death row, and then I had the SHU Special Housing Unit, which I know you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
So we were the first internment facility to have 0 escape attempts and 0 abuse allegations. So, kudos to the NCOs.
Was Abu Ghraib during that period, around about then?
No, so Abu Ghraib was 03-04. This was 08-09.
Okay, got you.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I hit my mandatory retirement date in 2016. Had I not hit my mandatory retirement date, I would not be standing here with you because serving was and is the honor of my lifetime.
What do you think about what Secretary Hegseth has done so far?
I think it's great. We couldn't even recruit because, when people join the military, it's not for DEI. It's because they want to serve. Yeah,
and they want to be a warfighter.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to. I mean,
they want it tough.
They want to be all they can be.
Yes.
Right. You want to see how far you can go. You want to challenge yourself.
You don't want diminished standards. Once you lower your standards, it's so hard to get them back up.
So is that what you saw as you were in? Did you see that coming?
I started seeing it coming. So I was a battalion commander, had first trans soldier. and we were going to a weapons call at Fort Indian Town Gap, and so so I had to give my first sergeant a credit card because I couldn't. I'm responsible for all these young women. I could not have a trans in the barracks. So
wait, so that they were required to be in the barracks?
Well, they had no other provisions because this was like when it was brand new.
Yeah.
So I'm like, here, go get a room.
Go stay out in town.
Like I can't.
You're gonna stay out in town.
These parents would have a field day if they heard about that.
And they should. Because you have a responsibility of female soldiers.
Exactly.
And it's so ridiculous what we're doing. And the fact that you're up there, you're trying to train for weapons qualifications. You're trying to actually, put rounds down range.
Right. And you have these distractions.
Be worried about these distractions. And you just mentioned you had to take time and you had to take resources to go and deal with all of this, which, as we all know, that gets in the way of the mission.
It does. It absolutely
does. But now you're here in Pennsylvania.
I am.
And you're also the Pennsylvania State Treasurer. So the biggest finances has been a huge piece of this going forward. We're all talking about the Trump tariffs. This is the big thing this week. I call it the Great Deal. I think it's the Great Deal because this is the first time that we've seen in years an actual bailout, not for Wall Street, but for Main Street. They've been getting a bad deal. Now it's a great deal. But you tell me. I'm not gonna sit here and vamp. Tell me what the tariffs mean for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so I say it's very short-term pain for a tremendous long-term gain.
Kind of like leg day.
Exactly. And for folks that are complaining about prices going up, well, where were they when we were losing millions of manufacturing jobs overseas? And I have a manufacturing background. I spent 30 years at the largest tungsten smelter in the Western world. We had to shut down an entire business unit. 225 jobs went, and you know where they went? They went to China.
Of course.
Exactly.
They all go to China.
And so all President Trump's asking for is treat us like we treat you. Full stop. End of story.
And so do you believe that with this tariff policy, and by the way, not just, it's the Great Deal is more than just tariffs, because you've got also you've got the ability for no tax on tips, you've got the Social Security, and the energy benefits that are going to be coming when we actually get American energy dominance back online. By the way, we've obviously got the LNG right here in the Commonwealth. Right. What do you think the effect will be once this really comes to realization?
Oh, I think it's going to be thousands and thousands of family-sustaining jobs.
Wow.
And you know what? It's more than bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Anything that we can do to encourage manufacturing here is a matter of national security.
Of course.
Yes.
And we all learned this during COVID.
We did.
And COVID hit Pennsylvania very hard because of Governor Tom Wolf at the time. We've got, by the way, I'm sure that our current governor would be just the same policies, possibly even worse policies. Though, of course, he would exempt himself the same way that Tom Wolf exempted his own company from all of the policies. So you're, as a statewide elected official, do you work with Josh Shapiro on a regular basis with the governor?
I work with the budget office.
Okay.
I do have some dealings with Josh Shapiro. So from a financial standpoint, we work well together. This isn't commonly known, but we do Doge in Pennsylvania.
Okay, talk me about that. Tell me about that.
Because my office makes all the payments of all 70 agencies, over 70 agencies, which, by the way, if you ask me, way too many agencies.
That's a lot of agencies.
Yes. So we have stopped billions and billions of dollars from going out the door in improper payments. Just last fiscal year alone, we stopped $1.7 billion from going out the door. But we could be doing so much more at the agency level if we had the right person in the governor's mansion.
Well, I was going to ask, certainly the governor must be supportive of that. That's waste, fraud, and abuse, right?
Hopefully he is, but I'll tell you what, just at the Department of Revenue, we spent almost $50 million of taxpayer money last year because they gave taxpayers their refunds late. So not only, think about that, wrap your head around it, not only did we give taxpayers their refunds back late, but then we had to pay more money, and it's taxpayer dollars. So there's,
So it's right. So it's government. It's government incompetence that is actually costing more money in real dollars that you have to send out, even though it's taxpayer dollars to begin with.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
It is. It's totally ridiculous. So I think there should be effort at the agency level. because I'm limited in what I could do. So there's so much more we could do.
And now, when you look at the state of Pennsylvania's finances, obviously, we have, I don't know if you've seen these napkins that have been going around. Stop Shapiro tax hikes. Please take some. There's a ton of. They're all over the place here at the conference. And when we look at this really is about the fiscal health of the state, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And it's, we're at a crossroads. We're not doing that well. So just this year alone, we will spend $3.5 billion more than what we bring in. Next year, it's going to be $6 billion. The year after, $6.9 billion, assuming that, revenues are pretty constant.
Right.
So no matter how you look at it, we're out of money in 3 years. Out of money, which means one of two things, and neither of them are good.
Everything in the state's coffers is being spent out. Whatever surplus is there is being spent out. We don't have a Fort Knox here. Fort Indiantown Gap doesn't have a whole room full of gold up in there.
No, unfortunately
not that I've seen. You were the battalion commander. You tell me. So what is the governor's plan then?
Well, they just keep throwing more money and hoping, something different happens.
Well, and this is what they do. It's I follow him. I watch I watch him like a hawk. Every week there's a new program. There's a new announcement. And I get it. That's how you build popularity. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're spending other people's money.
Exactly. And it's really unconscionable. And I think the money runs out in time for him to run for his next higher office.
Right. And so the money will run out. And look, he was my county commissioner, so I'm from Norristown, Pennsylvania. He was my county commissioner. He ran that county into the ground. He certainly ran Norristown into the ground, in the sense that he represented the area and worked right at the Norristown courthouse. This is the county seat of Montgomery County, and he didn't care. Why? Because he just moved on to the next job. He just moved on to Attorney General, and then when he was Attorney General, crime went absolutely crazy in the state, in particularly the city of Philadelphia, and didn't care about that. Why? He just bounced off to his next job, and nobody ever holds him accountable.
No, you go past Independence Hall, and what do you see? Filth, crime.
No, the homeless tents, the
drug
people
addicts.
beating each other to death in the streets, which happened recently. It's horrific.
Yes, so something has to give.
Kensington and Allegheny, the K&A, those corners. When I was a kid, and I'm talking like 80s, 90s, you could go shopping there. You could go, and now it's like they call it Kensington Beach, and it's the Fentanyl Highway. It's horrific.
I know, it is awful. I have relatives that come in from out of state, and they've called me and said, "Stacy, what happened to Philadelphia?" Yeah. So we really are we're at a crossroads. Something has to give. I mean, even look at education. We're in the top 20% of all states. We spend over $22,000 per student per year on education, and guess what? A little over 50% of our 8th graders are proficient in reading and math. So it's not, it's oil and gas. Reggie, Ohio, Virginia, they're kicking our butts because nobody wants to invest in the Commonwealth because, particularly in oil and gas, because you have this Reggie, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
The regulations.
Yeah, which is an illegal tax disguised as a regulation.
Right, and this is when President Trump ran, when he talked about the fracking, when he talked about that we have these massive LNG reserves under Western Pennsylvania that are a gift from God to the citizens of this Commonwealth, and you've got these crazy taxes that are pushed by the Democrats, pushed by the Green Movement, and won't actually allow us to tap into our own resources. And so if you want energy dominance, why not use the energy that's right here under our feet?
Exactly. We should be exporting so much more, that would be transformative.
And what does
it
do? It brings the price of oil down on the international market.
And inflation down.
And it brings inflation down. It brings all the prices down. Then the tariffs come in, and guess what? Now American goods can become more competitive on the open market. And what does that bring back? The manufacturing jobs.
Exactly. And again, just like manufacturing jobs, energy security is national security. And we see that, all over the world.
Stacy, tell people where can they go to follow you, to follow your work, because there's few people that are speaking truth to power here in Pennsylvania, but you're one of them.
Thank you, Jack. So you can follow me on X at Garity for PA or on Facebook at Stacy Garity for Pennsylvania.
Look, you've got to go be following her if you're in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or if you're interested in what's going on in these states. Look, Pennsylvania went red in 2024, but guess what? President Trump as far as we know, won't be on the ballot again. As far as we know, just saying, as of right now, you never know for sure. Maybe Vance, Trump, I don't know. We'll see. There's some rumors, there's some things being floated, but we need to build the networks out. We can't just assume that because Trump won, that everything's going to be fixed with a magic wand. That's not how it works. And if you care about your country, and if you care about the way this country goes, the swing states of the Rust Belt, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, it runs through here. This is the beating heart of MAGA. God bless, Stacey. Thank you so much for coming on.
Brother. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
I'm not sure why the President of the United States wants to do this to our small businesses, wants to harm our main streets. But here in Pennsylvania, I want you to know that I give a damn about our small businesses, and I give a damn about our main streets. And I am trying, together with these lawmakers, to make life easier for our small businesses.
Shapiro visited a brewery in Bethlehem this afternoon in the Lehigh Valley region.
I just wish the president wasn't working against us as recklessly as he is. This tariff war that he is starting, this button that he is pushing, is going to have one effect, and that effect is to drive up costs on consumers and businesses throughout Pennsylvania at a time where we can't afford that. And it's going to make our lives way more difficult.
When I'm working long hours, I'm always listening to Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
All right, Jack Posobiec back live here, Human Events Daily. We are in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We've got the Stop Shapiro napkins that we've got up because we got to have the napkins because whenever Josh Shapiro's around, he always makes a mess. So this is amazing. We've got them all over the event. Everybody's got them. It's actually amazing. I love that we're doing this. And we're here with Stacy Garity. Thank you so much for joining us on Human Events Daily. Now, I'd love if I could get, if you wanted, to respond to our illustrious Governor Shapiro, 5'3" that he is, that he's saying that the tariffs and everything that President Trump is doing is going to hurt Pennsylvania. It's going to cause pain to Pennsylvania. Is that your view? Do you see that as happening?
I don't, and we've got to do something different because what's going on now, what had been going on for the past 4 years was decimating Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Our population continues to decline.
Yep.
The biggest import we have are old people. We're losing jobs. Manufacturing's going to nothing in Pennsylvania. We have no help. We're not producing energy like we were once producing energy. We have a lot going wrong with us. We have so much opportunity, though.
Well, and this is what, when President Trump ran, he talked about fracking. He talked about wanting to have Pennsylvania energy be this beacon and be this absolute. It's literally a gold mine. It is actually a gold mine that we're all sitting on top of. He was talking about building pipelines down to Philadelphia, where we've obviously got the energy hook up there, so you can do the transfer. You put it on the river. You're out to sea. It's on the open market. You could be selling Pennsylvania energy all around the world. But Josh Shapiro isn't letting that happen.
Right. He stifled everything that we have. So he doubled down on what Biden did. He said, hey, I'm not going to do Reggie, but oh, yes, I am. He's going to court to fight in support of Reggie.
And Reggie, these are the green regulations. Walk us through what that is for the audience.
Reggie's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Yes.
So it's basically a cap and trade. We're going to sell carbon credits. It's a scheme. It's a virtual selling of nothing back and forth between consumers. It does nothing, or between businesses. It does nothing for the actual environment, right? But it's a cap and trade scheme.
Right, and so companies who look at Pennsylvania say, well, why would I want to invest if I have to deal with all this? So where are the companies going?
Right. So Ohio is eating our lunch, and now West Virginia is eating our lunch. West Virginia is eating our lunch.
So for folks to understand, the way the Marcellus Shale find sits, it's in that sort of corner of Pennsylvania. Correct. So it's western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, not far from where East Palestine is, and the train crash. Remember that when J.D. Vance went, and then West Virginia buttresses it to the south, right there. So where they don't have these regulations, that's where the companies are going.
And let's be clear, it's not that they don't have all of the regulations. They have regulations, right?
Of course.
We're being good stewards of our resources, but they're letting the market take charge there, right? The market is actually booming there. And so Ohio loves Pennsylvania, loves us. They love taking our workers. They love taking our money, our revenue. They're exploiting everything they can possibly exploit. And in Pennsylvania, where we are ripe with resources, coal, gas, energy, everything else you can think of in Pennsylvania, we're squandering it. We are doing nothing. And again, like I said, we grow older, smaller, and poorer every single year in Pennsylvania. There's no reason. We produce 60% more energy than we consume, and we're the number 2 producer of energy in the country. Now imagine if we can go to full capacity and actually get all of that to the market. Imagine, as they're talking about, hey, we're looking at brownouts here soon. We don't have enough capacity. We're sitting on capacity. It's outrageous that Shapiro would sit there on all these green energy fantasies that he has a lightning plan, it's called. It's, again, more green. Yeah, it's green energy.
He spends all his time coming up with these little marketing tricks and marketing ploys. But meanwhile, the jobs keep leaving. The people keep leaving. The only people that are coming in are seniors, and they're coming for the programs. And he's spending our money down to nothing. He's spending our coffers down to zero.
zero and more. So we have a budget, a 54% tax increase. That's what the budget would be if Shapiro gets his way.
Well, and that's why we have this, to stop the Shapiro tax hikes right there.
And part of his green energy fantasy plan is doling out $100 million tax credits. So not only are we going to, try to do these pie-in-the-sky green energy fantasy things, we're going to give people money, your money, my money, my taxpayer dollars, to help prop up big corporations.
Oh my gosh.
When all we have to do in Pennsylvania is step back and get out of the way.
Senator, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much. We're honored to have you on here on Human Events Daily. Tell the audience, where can they go to follow you to find more and the truth about Josh Shapiro?
Yes, SenatorKeefer.com, or you can find me on Twitter, Senator Keefer, or on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing, Senator Keefer.
See, people are used to, the audience is used to hearing me rant about Josh Shapiro. They say, why are you so hard on this guy? I said, it's because you don't understand what he's doing to my Commonwealth. You don't understand what he's doing to the state that I love more than any other, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And that's why we're here live, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
America's Voice family. Are you on Gettr yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored, and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Gettr app right now. It's totally free. Won't. We need to
to take cover that was incoming into Israeli territory.
To show you what they don't want you to see. It's still a disaster. What's the latest?
They call these street releases. You've got hundreds of people being dropped off. It's getting worse.
We're the nation's fastest growing news program for a reason.
Real journalism. They're all marching down to the White House.
Sounds to me, Ben, like they won't be happy until Israel doesn't exist.
Real American news.
America is under chemical warfare attack. Fentanyl is the weapon.
Thank you for everything you're doing. I appreciate you guys very, very much.
This is America's Voice Live with Steve Gruber.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Bo Davidson, filling in for the great Steve Gruber.